Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great season so far. I want to talk about something different today, and the question is how to develop runners, middle distance runners, distance runners when you're involved in a program that's heavily predicated amongst sprints, jumps, and so on, where the majority of the aid or scholarship money is allocated towards sprints and jumps. How do you motivate kids to come there, and how do you keep kids focused, and how do you develop them in a way to get them in a position where maybe they run well enough to get a little bit of aid or scholarship money or whatnot, and whether it's a high school or college program, either one. Okay, and this is something that not a lot of folks talk about, but I have to give a special shout out to Coach Darden at San Jose State University, because she inspired me to do this video. And amongst talking to her, and we were talking about training and stuff, and I wanted to do this because there are situations where you're trying to develop middle distance and distance runners, but you're involved in a program where a lot of the resources go towards sprints and jumps. And how do you do that? And this is the main reason why I give out so much content, right? So much particular information, so much detail in my videos. By the way, whoever's here, let me know that you're here. I got a couple of folks in here right now. Just say hi in the comments so I can say hi back. Um, this is one reason I give out so much information, because if you're, a half miler, I want you to be able to step down and run the 400, 4x4, right? Or the 600, or I want you to be able to step up and run 1,000 or the mile or the three-quarter leg in a DMR. So the more versatile you are, the more dangerous you're going to be, the more options you give your coaches. So, and that's why I give out so much information. This is one reason I'm a proponent of VO2 max training for middle distance runners, which is essentially training at 3K and 5K pace for certain workouts. Because you never know, you could be in a position where you might have a middle distance runner who runs a half mile who just so happens to be able to score in a 3K. It happens to be weak that year at conference, or the 5K that happens to be weak that year in conference. Male or female, doesn't matter. They might be able to get a couple points for you. This is why training in multiple paces is so important, right? And that's why I'm a big proponent of it. That's why I'm going to continue to put out stuff like this too. So, um, and this is what motivates me to give out so much information, because I want, if you're an athlete or a coach, to be able to know this stuff and be able to put yourself in a position that gives you as much weaponry in your tool shed as possible to help your athletes or to help yourself. So, and if anybody has any questions about this too, don't hesitate to ask. Ask me whatever you want. You have access to me too. Blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com is my email address. So if you have questions of any kind, you can reach out to me. Any one of my videos, and we're working on approaching 500 videos. So, um, and I'm going to continue to put out more stuff as well. And listen, I mean, I'm speaking from 2 decades experience as a coach, and obviously a former competitive runner as well, middle distance and distance. But I also happen to have been the fourth leg on my 4x4 as a 3K, 5K guy. And I split. I ran 49 point and didn't expect to, but I did. So, and we happened to be in a conference where we were able to score in the 4x4. We were able to, I ran the 4x4 Millrose games at the Madison Square Garden. So that was pretty cool too. So you just never really know what can happen. So, and this is why, if you're a distance runner, I want you to be able to step down into the middle distances and be competitive. If you're a middle distance runner, I want you to be able to step up in the distances and be competitive. Or if you're a middle distance or distance runners, I want you to be able to step down in the sprint relays or the middle distance relays and be competitive. Okay, and this is where the differentiation of two. If you're not sure of, well, what can we put in a DMR? Well, my half miler, my second best half miler is probably 5 seconds slower than my best half mile. So should I put that best half miler in a DMR in the half mile leg, or should I move them up to them or her up to the mile or the 1200? Well, if they're going to give you 10 or 15 seconds in the longer range, in the longer leg, then you move them up there and you bring the other half miler there. You might lose 5 seconds in the half, but you'll probably gain 10 or 12 or 15 seconds in the mile or the 1200. So that matters. This adds up. It is a numbers game. And again, if you could put yourself in a position to be more competitive, you're going to be in a good spot. And again, this is also a great way of motivating your middle distance runners and your distance runners, right? And this is one reason why I'm a proponent of, if they're not going to race a lot, um, then I would test them a lot, time trial them a lot. simulated. You can even create a track race, track meet environment um, in your school on a weekday or on a weekend or something like that to motivate some of the kids. Because I understand too, from a college standpoint too, resources are not the same. So you have to be more selective with who you can bring on your traveling teams, and I totally get that. So I've been there. I had to study the NCAA compliance exams and all that stuff too. So this stuff is all factored in. It's not like you have a large high school and you can take 100 kids to a meet every week or every other week or whatever. It's not the same way in college. So, and in some college, you might have to go to different meets if you have the resources. People fly here, people drive there, and so on. You have assistant coaches all over the place with your with your schools, with your teams. So, but the question here is how to develop runners in a program that's primarily predicated upon amongst sprints and jumps. And it's the same question. How do I motivate sprinters and jumpers to come here when my program is heavy in distance running and middle distance running? If you look at some schools like an Iona College, right, heavily predicated in distance running, middle distance running. That's their wheelhouse. That's their specialty. How do you get kids there? Well, obviously, you want if you have the resource, you want to bring in a coach that is capable in coaching these events to bring in capable athletes to compete in them and to develop in them. So that's obvious. That's an obvious one. Um, and the same goes in the other way. If you want to bring in a middle distance coach or a distance coach or somebody who can do both, you bring in one who can who not only recruit kids but motivate them to come here and train and so on and so forth, with the understanding that they're probably not going to race a lot early on. So we're going to put in the work. We're going to get you as versatile as possible and to get you as dangerous as possible. And then we score in some meets. There's a good chance that our fortunes might change here. You might have more opportunities, and that's the end of the game, right? That's the name of the game. And if you can get to the point where you do that, then all of a sudden you're not scoring. You weren't scoring points in middle distance and distance events before relays. You are now, right? And vice versa. You weren't scoring points in sprints and jump events, but you are now because of this. So, and that's where, and at least as it pertains to this channel, it's primarily middle distance and distance running. But I've got some other stuff as well. 400-meter training that I've done, and I can put up more stuff like that if you want me to. So if you're a coach or an athlete and you're somehow not subscribed to this channel, I ask you humbly to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification button too. That way, when I do put out content, no matter what it is, especially if you ask for it in the comments, I'm happy to do it and you'll know exactly when it comes out. And if you find yourself enjoying it, hit the thumbs up too. I thank you so much for it. So I'm on the mission to 4,000 subscribers now. We're over 3,000. We surpassed that about a month ago. I thank you so much for it, and I want to continue on this mission. So your support's greatly appreciated. But that's the question of the day, okay? And again, look at some of my videos. You'll see I have it laid out in such a way where you're racing. Let's just say you're racing every couple of weeks if you're able to race. If not, we're time trialing every couple of weeks. Okay, and you can even have some of the team there that it doesn't happen to be racing that weekend, and you simulate a track environment too, so that you have kids cheering your other athletes on, your middle distance runners and distance runners, even your throwers and your jumpers, whoever it might be. It's something I used to do in high school all the time. When I have kids trying out for the Penn Relays 4x4, I'd have all my throwers and jumpers out there to pump the kids up, and or if there's at college, like you could have any athletes who make the team that goes to the nationals, NCAA's in cross country, you can time trial that same morning as nationals for the people who aren't going to nationals to see the team compete, especially if it's far away, can stay there and watch the team compete in track events with 3K or whatever, a mile, and it'll create a track environment for them, a track meet environment for them. So it doesn't sound flashy. It's not flashy, but it's very, very, very important. It's a way of motivating your athletes who don't get a chance to race a lot. So, and again, if anybody's in here that has questions at all, there's no bad questions, no stupid questions. Don't be afraid to ask them. I love answering questions, and if I answer a question, it might lead to more questions, and that's totally cool too. And that's why I do these live streams so that people have access to me. And if you have questions, you can ask them. I want to be able to answer them on the fly. instead of having to wait days or weeks for a response that may not even come. So I'm going to continue doing these live streams too. So just let me know you're in here. And if you have questions about this, and again, the question of the day again, how do you develop runners, especially middle distance runners, in a program that's heavy duty sprints and jumps? You don't have much resources or so on and so forth. So how do you develop them? How do you make them more attractive to the coaches who focus on the other events? Well, obviously, they need to get to the point where they can score in events, right, and be competitive in events that they're not normally competitive in. And I understand this is also, sometimes easier said than done, depending on a conference. If you're in the SEC or whatever it might be, they're strong across the board. If you're competing in the events with Oregons and the Stanfords and those folks, good across the board. So, but there are programs that are heavily predicated in distance running, middle distance running, that are light in everywhere else, or certain programs that are heavily predicated among sprints, hurdles, jumps, that are light everywhere else. And how do you get to the point where you can be more valuable in those areas that aren't focused in? This is how. Okay, and this is why I'm a proponent of a multi-pace training system, because it allows your athletes to be competitive in multiple events and not only one or two. Your distance runners can step down, your middle distance runners can step up, and you'll be surprised scoring. I'm like, oh my God, we just scored in a DMR. Oh my God, we just scored in a 4x8, an SMR. I can't believe our distance runner just scored, even if it's 1 point. Our B team, our distance runner scored in a 4x4. It has happened. I've been on one of those teams. So, and we had a 320 4x4 filled with distance runners. So that's 50 point for distance runners. Pretty good. So, and it just goes to show you, if you train multiple paces, you'll be surprised at how well you can do. You'll be surprised at how well your athletes can do. So this is why I encourage folks to do this. And again, I'll only stay on for a couple more minutes if nobody's in, if nobody has any questions. And again, I'm going to put out more detail. I'm going to continue to put out this as well. And this is what motivates me to put out all these videos and putting out my training packets, my paid training packets, which are going to be out shortly. A Shopify store. It's going to be essentially a 400, 800 meter. It's going to be workouts, about 20 to 25 workouts, broken down early, mid, late season. I'm going to do 400, 800 group, 800 mile 3K, 3K, 5K, 5K, 10K. So it gives you the ability to train for multiple events in these workouts. Okay. And whether you're going to be doubling, it puts you in a position to be able to double easier, run multiple races. So, but these workouts are going to be available. You'll see some of the stuff you've seen on my other videos, but not broken down in the way that I'm breaking it down now. So I want you to have access to all this too. So I'll let you know when that's all available. I'm putting together all the packets for it right now. So if you find it valuable, I highly encourage you to get it. And again, you have access to me. If you have questions about any of them, we could talk about every single workout if you want to do that. Totally fine too. blackbeltrunningcoach@gmail.com is my email. You can reach out to me whenever you want. We could talk about this. So if anybody has, there's no other questions, I'll let you go. We'll wrap this up. I'll keep it short and sweet. But this is a very, very important video, very important live stream. It's a very important topic to talk about. How do you do that? Okay. Again, how do you make your middle distance and distance runners more attractive, more productive, more valuable in sprint heavy programs? And then on the flip side, how do you make your sprinters and jumpers more attractive, more valuable, more productive in distance heavy programs? Okay, this is just a topic that I don't know anybody that talks about it, but it's important. Okay, and again, I have to give a shout out to Coach Darden again from San Jose State, because she inspired me to talk about this, because it's an experience that she's having too. So, and it is a very important topic, and how you address it is absolutely critical, and it's important to your development as a coach as well and as an athlete. But I want to thank everybody for watching this, and I want you to have a great season, have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next time.